r/AskReddit. I have no name 00 says. Our people of Reddit, what's the most NSFW/WTF reason someone got fired from your place of employment? Solid Zatches says. A guy I worked with was fired because he worked 3 full-time jobs and it turned out he was sleeping for 6 hours on his shift. This was on night shift at a Home Depot. He used supplies from the store to build himself a platform above the rug cutting machine and had a whole setup he slept in for almost a year until he was caught climbing in the machine on camera. We all just thought he was shitty at the job and wasn't getting anything done. He is secretly my hero. Playballer says. I had a job like this in high school. Was a gas station and they always staffed it with 2 people, even though 1 was enough. So on weekends I'd sign up for double shifts, and so would the manager. In the morning he'd let me go sleep in the back office/stockroom. I wasn't a morning person and had been up late the night before. He'd then sleep during the second shift and I'd run shop. Digital Dig Dug says. Now that's a healthy boss-employee relationship. Dogboy666 says. Sending and receiving child porn on the office network, including images of his own child. Hopefully still rotting in prison. Vidaf says. Wish all pedophiles were that stupid. Would make catching them so much easier. Sleep Addict says. One of the IT guys at my old job used to work at Best Buy Geek Squad. He said that it happened multiple times a year that they were recovering a drive or setting up a new PC and the cops had to be called. Shocking. Drop the Rock says. Woman was providing blowjobs for cash over lunch breaks. The first word mentioned about her lunch breaks and she asked if she can just quit and leave immediately. We let her do that lol. Telewo says. You know where she ended up working next? Asking for a friend. Flashes from Threadson says. I would also like to know for no reason in particular at all. Once I'm 3 Mar10 says. I'm not in ours, but I once worked with a company where they had to fire some people because the CEO caught them having a gangbang in the office after a staff party. HBKDFW says. You shouldn't have fired the person getting gangbanged. They sound like a real team player. Tributary Goldman says. Willing to take one from the team. Any Establishment 113 says. Watching porn on his work computer while pleasuring himself in his office. With clear glass windows I'd like to add. Seawall Sucker says. I've seen similar. One of the engineering drafters got walked in on playing some serious pocket pool watching PR0N and immediately dismissed. Later the same day, someone else in the office read his Facebook as having been laid off because of the economy. Common Exam 1401 says. That's a whole other level of stupid. Pickle Standard says. Had a girl yelling at me after I fired her husband. He was a manager at one of my stores. He told her we fired without cause because we were losing money. I let her go on for several minutes, insulting the company, threatening to sue us and all that. Then I let her know he was fired for sexual harassment of a minor. A 17-year-old asked him to get something off a shelf for her. He said, only if you suck my thing first with 4 witnesses. A bit of realization set in her face, and she walked out without saying anything. She was maybe 24 years old. Her husband was 36. They had 3 kids. The oldest was maybe 6 to 7 years old. Jan Keeman says. That reminds me of the time I had to fire an employee, sustained poor performance, nothing exciting. He was actually a nice guy, just not cut out for the job, and his GF/future wife started loudly telling everyone that I fired him because she wouldn't go out with me years before. We had flirted for like 5 minutes years before, but I quickly realized she was cray cray. And walked away and started marching 2 hours, like she was on a crusade. It was chilling. Fortunately ours knew she was lying. After I left the company, I heard she was cheating on nice guy with a director who was taking her on all his business trips. Apparently everyone knew, and she was given the codename Laptop. The director's flying to Tucson tomorrow. Oh. Is he taking his laptop? Of course, I think one or both of them were eventually fired, or low-key let go. PaxDog1 says, codename Laptop is freaking hilarious. We called Micey as Blanky. She was soft, kept him warm at night, and was absolutely blank upstairs. Software development house. She was there 3 years and pulled me aside to ask how to add a column in Excel. r/AskReddit. Rustic Penguin 1 says, what's the worst decision you've ever made? Trans Hot Babe says, staying in a toxic relationship too long. Push It Up says, trusting the wrong people. The Vesviver says, my wife was very nauseous and had stomach pains. She couldn't even keep water down. This was a Saturday evening and I decided to take her to the ER. Some months prior I'd been in a minor accident and insurance was a pain about the ER visit. So on the way out of the house I made the mistake of calling the insurance company, Cine PPO. They said an urgent care was still open, literally for 15 more minutes, and I had to go there. We got there right as they were closing. Urgent care gave us some anti-nausea medicine and rushed us out the door. The next day my wife was worse. We went to the ER and her appendix had burst. They did emergency surgery. She pulled through, but she was in the hospital for weeks. We almost lost her, and she's had some lingering health issues ever since. All because I made one call to my insurance company. P.S. For-profit health insurance companies in the US can freaking rot in hell. I wish nothing but pain and misery for the CS of those vile entities. My D is so big says, quitting a stable job impulsively. Trans Baby Eyes says, neglecting health. Labradorgs 90 says, going into education. Positive Soap 66 says, jumping into a relationship without getting to know the person, it wasn't good. Efficient Scene 5901 says, going to college for an useless diploma, 3 years of graphic design. In the program, there were so many egos, that is. I want to be a somebody, not a nobody, said by one student. Then the teachers and their egos, that is. Bragging that he accidentally named a file for a client as asshole, but he was so good as a designer that the client kept him anyways until I on the resume. So, if you were at the store and saw a design program and you read the back of the box, then you can claim it, that you know it on your resume, and how he outshot some other parent in some goal competition in some event hosted by his son's hockey team. Also, technology has made it possible for anyone to be a good designer with filters and Photoshop, and it doesn't help that there are professional designers that work in magazines that have messed up their Photoshop work due to lack of paying attention to details. Realistic Feedback 42p says, not kissing him when we said goodbye on our 4th date. OK Hedgehog 4403 says, marrying the bizacch. Commercial Emu 5100 says, leaving Thailand. Protect Xi'an Content 977 says, taking a bite of an avocado. Peclemanatl says, not realizing at an earlier age that you can only trust yourself 100% of the time, and that even people you have known for decades can change and toss out a friendship like it was nothing. I know that's vague, but over the decades, I've had what I thought were strong friendships dissolve simply because the other person started dating someone who influenced them, or some other life change that caused them to disregard their friendships as though they never happened. Similar to a handful of family members and the biggie. Your coworkers are not your friends, regardless of how friendly you are with each other at work. So now I pretty much am polite and cordial with people around me, but I keep everyone at arm's length and unfortunately yes, have a soft wall built up around my emotions. It's far less disappointing that way. Emma Scarlett 899 says, getting into college debt. Much Year 3426 says, not leaving my college when I was unhappy there. I spent 3 more years miserable and, as a result, horribly underperforming. I should have transferred to a different school with a different culture. TechBro100 says, waiting till after my roommate asked her out to ask her out. Hilomeduda Sandbrus says, letting my grade slip. A True E says, losing my V card SMH. Dull Ranger 3943 says, moving to the USA. Acceptable Comb 9421 says, staying married to a man who has been extremely abusive. He truly takes narcissism to another level. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.